All right, artists, we're going to do some practice today with some different bubble letter techniques. So we have a sheet here. We're going to practice 3 different times, 1 time in each box. And you're probably going to want to practice with a pencil. That way you can erase it. I'm going to practice with markers because if I use a pencil, you won't be able to see it. So I'm going to make you a little bit closer here so we can see. All right, we're going to start in this first box. Some letters are easier to turn into bubbles than other letters. For example, in this first box, we're going to try the letter L. So if I write the letter L, I've got a nice stick letter, right? Some letters you can write the letter again right next to it, and that will easily turn it into a bubble letter. Let me show you what I mean. Right next to this L, I'm going to make another one. I'm not going to touch my original line. I'm going to leave a little space, and I'm going to make another L. Okay. Then I can easily connect the two. Okay. That is a nice, easy way to make a bubble letter. Now, all letters don't really work with this technique, but many do. L works very good with this technique. O works very good with this technique. And C also works really well. So let me show you a technique that you can try in this next square when this first technique, what would we call it? The shadow technique, maybe, right? The duplicate technique doesn't work. Let me show you what you can do. Now you would want to do this with a pencil. I'm going to do it with a different color marker. That way you can see it. So let's try with the letter E. So what you'll want to do with your pencil is to lightly write the letter E. So let's just pretend that that E that I just wrote is in pencil. Okay? And for letters that are a little trickier like this, what you can do to turn that into a bubble letter is to trace around the letter, leaving a little bit of space. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to trace around my E without touching my original orange line. See how I'm doing that? You can make your lines more round, or you can make your lines more straight. It's up to you. Now you see that I have a bubble E. So if you were doing this with pencil, what you would then do is erase that inside mark. So that way you had a bubble letter E. So let's practice with words. You can select any word that you like. I think I'm going to practice with the word cat. And what I'm going to try to do is use this whole space that I have here to write the bubble letter word cat. So what I like to do before I start with my big words and bubble letters, I like to write out the word so that I know how many letters I need and how much space I can use for each letter. So off to this side, I'm going to write the word. Maybe I'll do it again in my orange. I'm going to write the word cat. C-A-T. If you want to practice with another word, you can. So then what I want to do is find the center of my word. Now with cat, it's pretty easy, right? Because there's only 3 letters. So I've got 3 letters, and the center of my word is an A. Now with other words, it can be a little trickier. Like, let's say I was writing the word willow, right? This is a little bit longer word, right? So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 letters. The center of this word is not a letter. The center of this word is this space in between these 2 L's. So there's 1, 2, 3 letters on this side and 1, 2, 3 letters on the other side. Okay, so sometimes the center of your word is going to be the space between letters. And sometimes the center of your word is going to be a letter. So we're gonna keep going with cat. We're gonna try cat. So if I know that this is the space, this rectangle is the space I'm trying to fit cat into, and I know that A is the center letter, what I'm gonna wanna do is maybe start with A because that's right in the center. Because if I start with C over here, I might finish my word and have all this extra space, and that's not gonna have a lot of balance in my artwork, right? So I'm gonna start in the center, and I'm gonna start with my A, and I'm gonna use the same technique I used with the E, okay? So I am going to write as big as I can in A, okay? And I'm going to do my tracing around because that's the technique with this letter that'll work. Now with A, I also have some space on the inside I need to trace too, right? So now I would have, after I erase the inside part of the A, I would have a bubble A. So now, next let's go to the C. So the C, you can do the same technique that we did with the L, the duplicate or the shadow technique. So I can write the letters C, try to make it nice and big, and then I'm gonna write another letter C right inside of it, leaving a little bit of space, and then I can connect it. Right? Okay, we've got one more spot here. And the T. I want you to think to yourself, what technique do you think is going to work with the T? With the T, I'm going to use the second technique, the trace around technique. So first I'm going to draw my letter, and I'm going to trace around. And there we have it. So here are some different ways to practice bubble letters. Also, something to think about, if we were going to write the word willow instead of cat, I'm wondering, do you think that our letters would have needed to be smaller so they could fit? Probably. So the bigger your word, the smaller your letters. The smaller your word, the bigger your letters, right? You can also practice with some different ideas instead of just making your letters straight. Sometimes we like to design our letters going up and down. So here's a sample of some letters that are going on a curve. These letters also have a nice shadow. Here's a sample of some letters that wanted to take up the space of a circle. So if you notice, the more that you bend and stretch the letters, they're a little bit trickier to read this way, right? But it still looks fun. So there's some different ideas. If you want to do some more practice also, you can take as much time as you need to practice before you get started on your project.